How much? Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the starting grid here at Automotodrom Brno for the final time. Today it's the Saturday's parts program and it's the end of the day for us. So naturally, what you'd expect, the 1 hour long endurance race of GT and basically mixed classes. As you can see on the front row, right behind me, it's a mix of GT3 and a prototype. It's the pairing of Coach McKenzie and also his teammate, the Austrian driver Tverase, on pole position. Let me see if we can actually get a couple of words from the driver himself. Can we get a quick word, you think, before the race? Can we get a quick word with the driver? Hi, you're on pole position for the endurance race, 1 hour long, I would say low grip. What are you expecting from this race?
Yeah, I have to take a look that I'm not pushing too hard at the beginning, that we save the tire a bit. Otherwise I have to push a bit that I stay in front. But yeah, the important thing is, I think, to save the tire and don't overheat them.
Okay, have a good one, enjoy it. Let's now move to the other side of the front row. Stoffy Rossina here, giving fist bumps. And we've got, actually from this side, I should have already learned, right? We've already had an interview with Miro Konopka earlier on for the sprint race. And now it is front row of the grid for the endurance once again. Miro, I would say maybe you are the driver I'm interviewing the most because you like it on the front row. Now for the endurance, so what are you expecting for the Saturday afternoon?
It's a problem, this car. This car is hard and big weight and only 460 horsepower. Another car is nearly 65, 200 horsepower more, and that car is every time problematic. We will see.
I know that I'm always asking similar questions, so how are you and the team enjoying it here in Brno?
That's fantastic weather, no rain. I like Brno because for me it's Brno my first circuit, my home circuit. If I start with motorsport, was not Slovakia ring, and I have a driver license, a race license I find here, and for me it's a home circuit.
Okay, have a good one, enjoy it. Row number 2, that's the Trevor Racing's pairing. Gregor Žigo and Denis Vašek together at the wheel of the BMW M6 GT3, and alongside Adam Konopka, directly following his dad. So maybe it might be interesting to hear a few words from the young man. Sorry, excuse me. Let's try and if we can make it. Adam, hi, in a Lambo right behind your dad. So that's going to be an exciting Saturday afternoon for you, right?
Yeah. I remember the battle with the green Lambo from Red Bull Ring. It didn't end up as well. I hope it will be better now, and I'm ready for the race. Looking forward.
Thank you and have a good one. And maybe, just maybe, we can actually squeeze in one more before we really have to go, because we are actually cruising past Maťo Homola. Just a very brief few words so that we don't disturb you too much. It was a TCR for you earlier, now it's a very different animal. So how are you going to enjoy this one?
Yeah, as I said, it's completely different. So yeah, I will try to have a good start. Overtook some drivers, hopefully, to gain some time for Victor, and hopefully we will end in front of Miro. It will be tough, but we will try.
Okay, have a good one, enjoy it. And you enjoy it as well. Let's actually go back to the commentary broadcasting van and let's finish the Saturday program on a high with the endurance race. We are opening the 2023 season here in Germany. First of the 6 calendar events that are ready for us this year. They are now going to be side by side across the line, but Galash is prevailing. Jakim Galash scores another victory. His teammate a slight touch in the first corner. What a move that was. Contact. Luckily, everybody else has managed to avoid that car. This is going to be a photo finish between the two Lambos. Who's first? It must be Dennis Vashek. Unbelievable. Big crash, massive crash. So for the final time today, we are reconvening on the starting grid here in Brno, and it is the Tveráza coach Mackenzie pairing on pole position in their green Lamborghini number 617. Alongside it is Miro Konopka, who is doing the entire endurance race all by himself. That's also a possibility. Of course, for everybody, there's a mandatory pit stop halfway through that has to take at least 2 minutes, so the crews that only have one racer do not get, of course, any sort of advantage. It's a race that is designed for driver swaps. It's the longest one that we have on our program. 19 cars from different classes, different categories, and of course, once again, Trevor Racing bringing us the beauty of onboards for us to watch. Gregor Žigo and Denis Vashek sharing the M6 BMW. On the grid, and they will be doing the race together, starting from row number 2 in P3. Adam Konopka, we heard from the young man on the grid. Car number 44, the legendary yellow ARC Bratislava Lamborghini on row number 2. On the outside of it, actually, Maťo Homola entering the race. And then he will be handing over to his teammate Viktor Mraz halfway through. So he is starting from P5. Antal Žigo and Stefan Rosina sharing the M4 GT3 car. The other machine prepared by Trevor Racing, currently in P6. We saw Stoffel Rosina on the grid, also chatting here and there. And getting ready for his stint number 2. P7, that is pairing of Jakub Knoll and Josef Záruba for Michanek Motorsport Racing. Petr Lisa and Ondřej Rokos in their KTM prepared by the RTR Projects team. P8, Hermann Speck in 9th in his Porsche number 611. Of course, it is a Porsche 911, but starting number 611. And then Broňa Formánek and Filip Sládečka sharing the duties at the wheel of the other Lamborghini Huracan by Michanek Motorsport to complete the top 10. Petr Koukolap and Vašek Janík in 11th, Bob Bau in P12, Thomas Lindemann P13, and then the pairing of Rudo Beňo and his mentor Richard Gonda sharing the M4 GT4. Radim Adámek with Miro Horňák back on the grid for Aditis Racing in the 911 Porsche. Then it is Adam Lacko in the GT4 Mercedes car number 55 in 16th. And then Andrej Makarovic together with Mihailo Mladenovic. Then Patrik Kirov and Radoslav Obertalp and Ivan Hřeňák completing the grid. We are back on the start and finish straight, waiting for the green light. It's again a rolling start procedure, and we are underway. Miro Konopka immediately entering a battle with his son, actually, because Adam Konopka from the second row trying to make a move forward. So is Maťo Homola. Nice move from the young Slovakian. Well, actually, all of the Slovakians that are there on the first 2 rows of the grid. Miro Konopka dropping down a little bit behind his son. And also countryman in the KTM, that's Maťo Homola. For the moment, he did the Eastern European / European TCR race earlier on. Ooh, and we've got a mistake from Adam Konopka. Is he gonna avoid the barrier or not? He made a mistake. He had a snap halfway through the corner, and he exited the track, skipped across the gravel, and I'm afraid that he may have hit the barrier. That was very unfortunate for the young Konopka, who's enjoyed his fair share of trouble in his career, and that's a Lambo in the barrier. That is something that we do not like to see. The track marshal just checking with the driver whether he's fine or not. It wasn't a big impact. He basically just skipped across the gravel and slid into the barrier. He did really try to avoid it, but didn't manage to do so in the end. Safety car on track, of course, and that wasn't a good spectacle, especially for his dad, who must have had Adam right in front of his eyes. So the rescue vehicle already at the site of the accident. Wasn't a terribly big one, so even the car will not be damaged very much. Maybe a little crumpled front splitter. Now we are seeing that again from the rearwards facing camera. That was that, and maybe if we can get that shot a little earlier, because there was the snap. That was the snap for the Lambo mid corner. That was decisive. Now, of course, Adam will get going again, but having used external help, he will not be able to remain in the race, so he might be able to drive back to the pits, but that will be it for Adam's race. So Gerhard Tverase and Coach McKenzie, they stayed in the lead with their green Lamborghini. You've got them there at the head of the pack. And then Maťo Homola making a great start and actually moving himself up into second behind Tverase in his KTM. And then in P3, that's Miro Konopka and great start once again by Michanek Motorsport, Bronislav Formanek, who made a great start already earlier on. Ooh, and we've got one of the KTMs driving really slowly indeed, and the rest of the pack not really wanting to get ahead because they can't during the safety car period, but that seems like trouble for that KTM. And in that case, if the KTM is driving unnecessarily slowly, then everybody else might really get ahead. No issue with that. This is the car number 38. That is the pairing of Radim Adamek and Miro Horňák. They shared the entire team a couple of years back. Bronislav Formanek, he had a fantastic start in the sprint earlier on and was fighting for the GTC victory at the end, right at the last minute. It was his teammate Josef Záruba who snatched that victory off his hands, but it was really close across the line between the two Lambos. In the end, Pepa Záruba prevailing in this race, well, in that race of course, earlier on today. And now it is a new chance for Bronia Formanek, and a great start for his car once again. Car number 22, up by 6 places. Fantastic. On the other hand, down by 2 is Trevor Racing's Gregor Žigo and Denis Vašek. This is getting troublesome already because the safety car and the, let's say, front half of the pack is already back on the start and finish straight, while the rest of the pack is only about exiting the stadium section. There really we have a problem for, I believe that's Hermann Speck, and that must be the KTM driven by Petr Lisa and Ondřej Rokos in trouble for some reason, because they are driving really incredibly slowly. But Hermann Speck didn't really want to get ahead. There is Adam Konopka's Lambo being released. He will be able to get back to the pits, but of course he can't continue in this race, so he has to retire, having used external help. But more importantly for now, Hermann Speck didn't really want to overtake the RTR Project's KTM, and yeah, that's a bit of an issue really, because now they got an incredible delay ahead of themselves that I'm not really sure whether they will be able to catch up behind the safety car. This is the rest of the pack. And the KTM, is it making it back to the pits or not? There's already 45-second difference, 45-second gap ahead of Hermann Speck. Maybe he should have reacted earlier and actually get ahead of the KTM. We are now on board with the M4 GT3 of Trevor Racing, driven by Antal Žigo currently. Safety car still out on the track, even though the hazard is off. And is the RTR Project's KTM back in the pits? We see the gantry. We would like for the camera to turn right a little bit, because we would like to see what is happening right now in the pits. We should have the car number 294 in the pit lane. That's the car shared by Petr Lisa and Ondřej Rokos. But with all that, it should mean that we should be able to go back to racing action at the end of this lap. However, the safety car still has its lights on, and that makes me wonder. Okay, so Adam Konopka's Lambo still not back in the pits fully. There he is. So we still need to clear this hazard, which is going to happen in the next seconds. But how about the KTM? Because I still do not see on the live timing screen that the KTM would be back to the pits. We've got the time for it for the previous lap, 4 minutes 35. So maybe they just got the car going again. Maybe they performed a restarting procedure. hard reset or something like that, and that would mean that the KTM would be back in the fight, albeit of course at the back of the pack. So there is Adam Konopka returning back to the pits. So now the team can assess the severity of the damage. As you can see, not a lot visible so far. The bonnet goes off. And how about everything underneath? The radiator, the engine brackets, everything. We see the slight damage to the bumper. You see actually the green color that was taken off the barrier. That's not a huge problem, and even the splitter seems reasonably well intact, which would mean that basically the car seems to be fine. But having used external help, it's a game over for Adam Konopka, as I mentioned. So the ARC Bratislava's Lambo being pushed back into the garage, and that's it for today. But on the track, we might go racing again. We've just completed the first 10 minutes of the race, so 50 remaining. That was a near contact between Mechanik Motorsports Lambo and the ARC Bratislava's Ligier. At least from the onboard it seemed like that. I hope that the drivers had a little bit of a gap between themselves. I should expect that, yes. Somebody talking to the ambient mics. But nevertheless, we are going green again. And with green flags, we have a green car leading us off. That's Gerhard Verhaze in the first place in his Lamborghini. Green flags all around. And we are back to racing action here in Brno. So the endurance. It's also the final endurance race of the season, and a lot of the championships were decided for the sprint standings. When it comes to the endurance, Gregor Žigo leading from Denis Vašek, and of course, because they are racing together in one car, there is no way that one driver can actually get more points than the other one. So the gap between themselves, but between them, is going to remain the same. Miro Konopka, 36.5 points to his name, so 14 fewer than Gregor Žigo, and that means that he won't be able to trouble him. Definitely not in the GT3 class, as Miro Konopka has brought the LMP3 car. So GT3 with that is actually decided in the favor of Gregor Žigo. He scored a couple of victories at Lausitzring and also in Most. We did have a race in Lausitzring. Rudo Begnon taking the overall victory in the GT4 class with 46.5 points to his name so far, and also taking 3 victories along the way. Jakub Knoll fighting together with Josef Záruba, but they are sharing the car, so same number of points to them, but they are actually 12.5 points ahead of Petr Brecka and Karel Neff, who are not here in Brno. A fight shaping up between two Slovakians, Miro Konopka putting pressure on Maťo Homola. And there's your race leader, already enjoying a couple of seconds of a gap to the rest of the pack. And the gap is now even increasing to 3.2 seconds. So Gerhard Tverase really pulling out some magic behind the steering wheel of the Lambo. In front of the KTM, in front of the Ligier. And another fight further down the field, that's Yannick Motorsport's KTM. Shared by Petr Koukola and Václav Janík, and the Lamborghini of Jakub Knoll and Josef Záruba. Mechanic Motorsport prepared car, home race for both of the teams. And the fastest lap of the race so far for the leading car, 2:01.4. Of the two prototypes, let's say the KTM and the Ligier behind, they are currently lapping at 2:02.4 and 5 respectively. Not exactly a prototype as such, the KTM, but just has something about it that gives you the feel that it is. It's the GTX machine. Even go-karting events still fully on towards the end of the day. And the leading Lambo really going for it. 4.6 now. Still extending the lead. Broňa Formánek and Filip Sládečka, their car in P4. Gregor Žigo and Denis Vašek in P5. Antal Žigo and Stoffy Rosina P6. That's these two Beamers. The older M6 ahead of the newer M4 in the Trevor Racing's livery. Hermann Speck in that bright yellow Porsche 911. Another fight. Yannick Motorsport and Mechanic Motorsport into the first corner. and the Lambo just staying ahead. So first 20 minutes pretty much done as we are still watching the fight for second. Maťo Homola enjoying himself. This is not really a fight in the same class, but why wouldn't you enjoy that fight with Miro Konopka against a faster machine on paper? He's trying to be as precise as possible and even make earlier turn-ins, like right now into the first corner, just to fend off any sort of attack that might arise. But of course I don't expect the defense to go extremely hard. There's no need to crash, there's no need to damage any of the cars in this race, but if these two can enjoy themselves, then they will definitely do that on a Saturday afternoon here in Brno. Wonderful track, sweeping, flowing, fantastic circuit with a lot of mid-speed stuff that just really allows you, and I've already mentioned it a couple of times across the weekend, that really allows you to choose your racing line and actually try different approaches in attack, in defense, in the fight for the best lap of the race. Brno really offers the lot. It's not like on a lot of other tracks where pretty much one line is realistic and the fastest way through. Here, because it's sweeping and it's got endless undulations, it's uphill, downhill, it's also left and right, left and right, left and right. Sometimes you might try and play with the fact that you sometimes sort of sell the entry and win on the exit, or the other way around. You've got, let's say, mid-length or even long straights between them. So it's a beautiful, beautiful mix where you can actually really try and explore the strengths and also weaknesses of each respective machine, whether it is a car as slow as a Formula 4, a junior single-seater Formula, or it is a LMP3 Ligier, or it's a TCR car, or it's a Clio, or it's whatever you like. And now Miro Konopka goes down the inside on Maťo Homola. He has had enough and now snatches second off the hands of his countryman. We are still some length away, some time away from the pit stop window that usually happens between the 25th and the 35th minute of the race. So a couple of minutes and we will be opening the pit window for the driver swaps. But of course also the drivers that do the race themselves have to stop in the pits so that they do not gain any advantage from the fact that they are not sharing the car with anybody else. Otherwise every team and every crew would simply be going with one driver. 1 hour is not a problem. Of course, in the world of GTs and prototypes, we know races as long as a day, of course. And the variety of 24-hour events all around the globe, with, of course, the 24-hour Le Mans being the most famous of them all. The M4 BMW, the current generation of the GT3 car that the Munich-based car maker makes and builds, replacing the previous M6. We also had a couple of Alpinas that appeared in the colors of Trevor Racing. Those weren't grey predominantly, but actually white way back then. Miro Konopka, across the line he was about 8 seconds behind the race leader. Now he's dealt with Mathieu Homola, and he can actually set after the race leader right now. So he's now chopped off a whopping second. And that was not even it was actually a full lap that he was in free air. So he might want to go for one better. He was deprived of it in quali, not for the sprint, but yes, for the endurance. So he started this time on the outside of the front row, and he's now setting after the race leading Lamborghini Huracan number 617, shared by Gerhard Tverase and coach Mackenzie. Pit window about to open in the endurance race, with the second Mechanic Motorsports Lambo car number 11 still under pressure from Yannick Motorsports KTM. They have only about half a second between themselves, or they had. No, actually about a second. I've got to refresh my live timing once again, not really up to date all the time. Blue flags for the TCX car. That is the pairing of Patrick Kirov and let me just say it correctly. Radoslav Obertal. That was very nearly a problem, what we just saw on the screen. So Radoslav Obertal in the TCX car. The thing that we just had on the screen, that was a GT4 Mercedes, but the round of pit stops starting right now. And we have got the Mechanic Motorsports Lambo and Trevor Racing's BMW M6 in the pits. So the dual shot is definitely handy, coming in handy right now. We've also got the pairing of Radim Adamek and Miro Horňák in the pit lane at the moment. This is your race leader with Gerhard Tverase at the wheel currently. Are we going to see the German-Austrian pairing in the pits already this time? The Porsche 911 number 38 Adidas Racing's car has already left their their pit slot. Also, RTR Project's car is in the pits as soon as they possibly can. That's Petrlisa and Onzero, because they did have a problem at the beginning of the race. So naturally they are back in the pits as soon as they can, as the window is opened. Because they are also trying to use the 2-minute pit stop to actually try and work out if there is still some residual issue, or whether everything is fine again, maybe after that hard restart of the car. So Denis Vasek back out of the pits in the M6. And Antal Žigo coming in. He's going to hand over to Stoffy Rosina. Hermann Speck also entering the pit lane in his Porsche 911, number 611. So the pit stops in full swing right now. And Petjo Meri helping out. So the RTR Projects K team is out. I mean, out of the pit lane, not out of the race. So the car number 294 seemingly out of trouble for the moment, and it wasn't even a delayed pit stop. It seems to be. Just as we see yet another car in the pits, that's the Porsche 911. It's actually number 846, driven by Bob Bau. And the M4 GT4, Rudo Begno and Risho Gonda sharing the car. Let us try and look who was the one actually starting the race. This is the Porsche of Porsche number 430. That's Thomas Lindemann actually. So Trevor Racing's M4 is out of the pits. The driver swap performed, Stoffy Rosina taking over. We've also got the TCX Cupra Leon, formerly owned by Express Auto Racing and driven in the TCR Championship. Still in the colors of Petr Čížek, but currently shared by Patrik Kirov and Radoslav Obertal. And still actually racing under Express Auto Racing's moniker. Mechanic Motorsports Lambo is out of the pits, so is Yannick Motorsports KTM, and they remain in the same respective positions, so both of the pit stops performed well. This is Bagheera's Bagheera ZM Racing. That's Adam Latsko, of course. Car number 55, the GT4 Mercedes. Thomas Lindemann out of the pits as well. With the pit stop window being pretty much nearly over, still 2.5 minutes left. But with the drivers, the fastest drivers lapping in around 2 minutes, there's not much more space to actually get back to the pits and perform the swap and the stop. So the Cupra is out. We see the GT4 Porsche Cayman coming in. Driven by Ivan Hřeňák. And there is still your race leader. Who presumably has not yet been to the pits. Miro Konopka is in his Ligier. I'm also not sure whether I've already seen Maťo Homola in. So frenetic action. EASI Bratislava needs to make it around the Porsche of Hermann Speck. Adam Lacko is now leaving his spot. And this is your race leader. Yeah. So Gerhard Tverase only now leaving it very late, but still within the rule book. So he's going to hand over to Coach Mackenzie, who drove the car earlier on in the sprint. And there is Maťo Homola. He's going to hand over to Viktor Mraz. And the car number 789 tried to get out of the pits, but stops right at the end of the pit lane, just as the race-leading Lamborghini is rejoining the race with Coach Mackenzie at the wheel. But we have got the KTM stationary. On the pit exit. Now it is off and back in the race. Seemingly there may have even been a penalty. So, after the pit stop, we've still got the car number 617 leading the way. The pairing of Gerhard Tverase and Coach Mackenzie. This time it's Mackenzie leading, or it's actually behind the wheel. There he goes with his predominantly green Lamborghini. The pairing of Viktor Mraz and Maťo Homola. Back into second, but we'll see as the live timing ooh, and that car is in trouble now. That is the car number 789. That's the stadium section, and we do see the KTM sideways, stopped with the rear wheels on the gravel. That's not a great position to be in. And that might very well cost them the podium, unfortunately. We'll see if also the class lead, because the second car is currently in P9 overall in the hands of Petr Koukola and Václav Janík. This is the undisputed race leader. Miro Konopka back up to second, so 9 seconds further down the road. And we did actually see Miro Konopka right before the pit stop reading the leader in, and so we did have the fight for the race lead on our hands. If it's gonna stay the same, that's what we're trying to see right now. Once the lap times stabilize, and it's Trevor Racing's M6 GT3 driven currently by Denis Vashek. It's already up to third, definitely leading the GT3 class from their teammates. That's now Stoffir Rosina having a go. So the KTM number 789 is out of trouble and just ahead of the other GTX machine. So that means that the fight for the race victory in the GTX class has now really hotted up, because all the work that Mathieu Homola managed to put in his first stint is now undone after a mistake. But that's simply what happens. That's motorsport, and the car number 78 simply needs to keep going and make up for it, because they've got the other GTX car, or another GTX car, let me say, car number 73 of Yannick Motorsport, right behind them. So the fight for the GTX victory is now getting more interesting, with the final 20 minutes of the race remaining. .5 between Coach Mackenzie and Miro Konopka. So Konopka was faster on the previous lap. 2:05.1 for the race leader, 2:04.6 for the second placed car, which means that we do have a battle for the victory on our hands right now, and that is great to see. So we still have something to be looking forward to towards the very end of this race. Still, the overall victory not really firmly in anybody's hands. Race lead, yes, but race victory, that might very well be a very different story. There's your race leading Lambo. And if we look back a bit, I think already in the shot was the second place Ligier. And if that was true, then Miro Konopka is getting close really at a blistering pace. Because that was no 8.5 seconds, definitely not. So up the hill we go. I'm really looking forward to the next gap across the line. That's actually all that we're getting from the live timing screen, so no live updates really with any sort of mini sectors, but an update once per lap. 18 minutes left. We are making our way through the final S's. That's the drone view, giving you the idea of what the shape is of the last corner. Not really the same radius all through. And there's the second placed man. And now watch the gap go from 8.5 to 5.7. So that was nearly 3 seconds per lap that Miro Konopka managed to chop off, literally chop off, the race lead of Coach Mackenzie. This is going to get interesting. This is your M4 GT3 driven by Stoffir Rosina in the hands of Trevor Racing. So let's enjoy the onboard for a bit. there is a fight for you. And it's the same two guys as in the sprint, or at least same two cars. That's the GT4 fight. Half a second between them across the line on the previous occasion. And that's 12th placed Adam Lacko overall. And then Risho Gonda in the BMW M4, right behind. They already had a wonderful fight earlier on in the race. The leaders' gap, in the meantime, by the way, has shrunk to just under 3 seconds, 2.9 between the race leaders. But we'll get to that very shortly. This is a very interesting fight for the GT4 class lead. And Risho Gonda having a look on Adam Lacko, both of them professional racing drivers, so they are definitely going to enjoy this one. Around the final corner they go. Another attempt down the inside goes Risho Gonda, sending it round the outside. Adam Lacko defending nicely. This is really interesting, but really any second we might even have the swap in the fight for the first place overall. So now it's a bit hard to decide what to watch first. Risho Gonda making a move round the outside. Side by side they go for the lead in the GT4 class. Hard on the braking. Tiny little twitch through the left-hander for Adam Lacko. But Risho Gonda goes through, leaves the door open still. So Adam Lacko fighting back. And they are now alongside each other coming downhill. That's really exciting. Hard under braking. They are leaving each other enough space, but it is now the BMW prevailing. Risho Gonda takes the lead, but for how long? They are still remaining side by side. Are they doing this deliberately? Do they really want to stay alongside each other for the entire lap? Well, what is going on? Now the BMW is firmly ahead. That was a wonderful fight. So now we may quickly get back to the situation at the front of the field, because Miro Konopka is about to retake the lead of the race. Well, not retake, he's not been first yet, but he very well might be anytime soon. That's the green Lambo and the yellow Ligier fighting it out for the first position. They are now exiting the first corner. There they are. Miro Konopka has already destroyed the entire lead that Coach McKenzie had. And he is now right on his tail. Yes, these two cars are not in the same class, so don't have to take the things that seriously. But why not enjoy yourselves on a lovely Saturday afternoon here in Brno? Miro Konopka now trying to read the racing line of Coach McKenzie. He's still got a plenty of time to do that, and now he's diving down the inside, entering the stadium section with half of the distance of a GT sprint still left on the clock. 12.5 minutes right now, and it's Miro Konopka taking the lead in the final quarter of the race. They only had a quarter of a second between themselves across the line the last time out. It is now going to go bigger, but in the reverse order, with Miro Konopka in the race lead. The pairing of Žigo and Vašek in third, leading the GT3 class from their teammates and class opponents Antal Žigo and Stoffy Rosina. Herman Špek up to P5 overall from the pairing of Broňa Formánek and Filip Sládečka. And Jakub Knoll and Josef Záruba in P7. That is the KTM for you. And that's actually this fight. That's Viktor Mraz trying to defend from Janík Motorsports KTM, shared by Petr Koukola and Václav Janík. What an office, right? If you have to work on a weekend. It's just wonderful how the KTM really goes behind its nose, let's say. Now it's rotating nicely. At least on the turn in and mid through the corner. Now trying to cut it back in. Was a little give up of the rear tires. Slight slide halfway through the corner. And using the entire width of the exit curb, and now into the Kevin Schwantz corner. So that's at least what we got from the onboard. Beautiful stuff, really. Studying the racing line of the driver. This is Trevor Racing. Denis Vashek, the GT3 leader, P3 overall. Not bad at all. There's the KTM fight. This is for the victory in the GTX class. RTR Projects versus Janík Motorsport. And the race leader in the mix, Miro Konopka, lapping both of the KTMs. He was fighting with one of them earlier on in the race, and now he's giving them a lap. That's simply the evolution of the race. That's how the story unfolded. But still, RTR Projects remains in the race lead in terms of the GTX class. They really have to fight for it against Janík Motorsport with 8.5 minutes left in the race. Now there is a look down the inside. This is still going to be interesting. We had a couple of fights in the latter stage of the race, one for the overall race lead, one for the GT4 lead. Both of those fights are now done with for the moment, but it is now Janík Motorsport making a move down the inside. The pairing of Petr Koukola and Václav Janík taking the lead in the GTX class off the hands of the pairing of Viktor Mraz and Maťo Homola. And they have the erstwhile race leader, the pairing of Coach McKenzie and Gerhard Tveraza in the green, predominantly green Lambo. Right behind, he's also coming through, Coach McKenzie. There is your outright race leader. And now as the sun begins to sink below the horizon, we are in the final minutes of the endurance race. Final endurance race of 2024. So let's tot up the scores for the moment. It is Miro Konopka, of course, leading the race overall, lapping in about 2:05.3. Then we have got the pairing of Gerhard Verhaze and Coach McKenzie in second overall, leading the P9 class. And then we've got the leading GT3, that's the BMW M6 of Trevor Racing, shared by Gregor Žigo and Denis Vašek. In fourth overall, that's the GTC class leaders, Broňa Formánek and Filip Sládečka for Michanek Motorsport. They are at the head of the field of the Cup class, GT Cup. Antal Žigo and Stoffi Rosina in fifth overall, second in the GT3 class. Then we've got Herman Speck, P9 class with 6A. So not exactly the same thing that the erstwhile race leader. Then we've got the second GTC machine, that's the second Michanek Motorsport Lambo, shared by Jakub Knoll and Josef Záruba in seventh overall right now. Petr Koukala and Václav Janík in P8. They are leading the GTX class. From Viktor Mráz and Maťo Homola, they are second in the category. And then Bob Bau, third in the GTC standings currently in his 911 Porsche, number 846. Petr Lisa and Ondřej Rokos, they were in trouble at the beginning of the race, but made their way back to 11th overall and third in the GTX class. But Bob Bau has now actually dropped to 11th, and he's let Thomas Lindemann up into top 10. Or is it just my live timing screen playing havoc with me? Once again, I think that's the issue. So now the names jumping up and down the order for me here on my little screen. It's all correct in your graphics. So let's focus on that. This is your GT3 leader. Let's enjoy the onboard from it. So 2 laps remaining. Penultimate lap that has just commenced for Miro Konopka. So slight correction on my part, it's actually 60 minutes plus 1 lap. As I've just been reminded, of course, that's the new feature for this year. So actually this is the 3rd lap from home. It's not been a bad race for Coach McKenzie and Gerhard Verhaze. Yes, they lost the outright lead, but still, they've been enjoying themselves in a pretty much faultless race, and in the end it's the LMP3 Ligier that's prevailing, but that also has a significant performance advantage. The GT3 leaders, this is a fitting end to their season, of course, because they've amassed the biggest number of points in the championship. Gregor Žigo and Denis Vašek, so they are on their way to score another victory and simply confirm that the title went in the correct hands. The time is up, so one more lap for us, and that will be it for the Saturday's program. If we just take a quick look at the program for tomorrow, there's still a lot of races to be had. We are starting the day at 10:35 with the second race of TCR, Europe plus Eastern Europe, of course. Then right after that, the second race of the Formula 4 Central European Zone. Then after a quick break, we'll have the second GT Sprint at 12:55. Then at 14:40 or 2:40 p.m. if you will, second Division 2 race. That's the one that we opened the weekend's program with. And this is your race winner, Miro Konopka. Okay, now I'll admit I'm a tiny little bit confused because, yeah, we just shared looks around our broadcasting van whether it should be +1 lap or not, but it even says in the documentation it is 60 minutes +1 lap. But either way, the checkered flag is being waved, and as the rules say, the race is ended when the checkered flag is being waved. So if this is a mistake by race control, doesn't matter, this is ending the race nevertheless. So I beg your pardon for not really announcing Miro Konopka soon enough. As he crossed the line, he saw the checkered flag, he directed his car towards the pit wall, of course, and scored the victory. I mean, the +1 lap wouldn't really change much. This is your second place car, the green Lambo shared by Gerhard Verhaze and Coach McKenzie. Just to finish the program, of course, I went all the way to the second Formula 3 race at 2:40 p.m. and then after another quick break, we're going to have the third race of the Central European Formula 4 at 3:55 p.m. and with that will be it for the, well, for some championship season finale, for some not. Some of them are still going to go and race in Salzburg Ring. That will be the Formula 4 and also the TCR. So everybody else now taking the checkered flag, finishing the race. It's Miro Konopka victorious here in Brno. Gerhard Verhaze and Coach McKenzie second overall. Gregor Žigo and Denis Vašek taking the victory in the GT3 class and scoring the third place overall. Michanek Motorsport, of course, enjoying themselves and celebrating in their own style. That wouldn't really be Masaryk Racing Days, and it wouldn't really be Michanek Motorsports if there weren't an extra flair, an extra extravaganza from the team, of course. That's what we love to see. So that was the final race of Saturday's program, with the cars returning to Parc Fermé. So the last race has been done, last points are now going to be awarded, and this is the results in graphics for you as well, after 27 laps of racing action. And with that also the championships are sorted. Gregor Žigo becoming the GT3 champion in the endurance racing. So these are the full results. And with that, the Saturday has come to its conclusion. We will be back, of course, for more. I already mentioned the program, so just a slight reminder, we are starting again at 10:35 tomorrow with the touring car race, and that's going to be definitely an exciting one. But for today's part of the program, my name is Pavel Fabry, I was your commentator, and it is a very big and very warm goodbye.
Thank you.